Okay, YouTube, assuming it works, who knows anymore. This is going to be a video, and it's going to be the first video I made in a while now, for a number of reasons I'll go into a little bit of to start things. But this will actually be a milestone video for me. This is an achievement because this is the first video, and I don't know how many videos, where I don't plan on being talking about any topic having to do with chopping up dicks. So that alone makes this a decent video for me. Okay, it's a special video. I don't have to talk about that for once. But I wanted to, since I've been on here, and I've not been on here for a while for a number of reasons. One is your fucking short attention spans. Thanks, whoever you were. But because one, I've been busy working on my Twitter page, and two, I just haven't had really much to talk about. There's only been one story in the news, and granted, it's a doozy. I still just didn't really have much important, I don't know, I guess dialogue or important information or whatever perspective I wanted to add to it until recently, more so. And also, again, I've been working on my Twitter page, and I haven't been on here, and nobody ever watches these stupid videos anyways. I've just been working on my Twitter page that I have had at least a little bit more success with in terms of people watching my shit or looking at what I have to write, post, and so forth. So I've been using it a little bit more. But in terms of, or so far as the riots go, or first let me cover that. The riots have happened, obviously, since the last time I've been on here. I believe it was since the last time. And that's an interesting issue. And obviously, I am on the side of the protesters for the most part. I'm not saying I agree with all their tactics or everything they do. And I'm going to go into a little bit of that. But I'm sure some people, innocent people, have been harmed in these protests. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Largely, by the way, by the police attacking people and fanning these flames and making it worse. Because even during these protests, the cops are still assaulting people, and they got one cop up for pushing down a 70-something-year-old man. Two of them, actually, and they're in trouble for that now. But the point is, yeah, I support the protests. I'm against police brutality. Obviously, I have known people in my family, white people, by the way, who have been attacked by police, beaten by police. I knew an old man who said once he bought some moonshine, and the police basically beat him up, and because he wouldn't tell where he got the liquor from, and this is back in the old days, and it turns out he bought it from the policeman's father. So that will go to tell you a lot about what you need to know about cops and what kind of individuals usually sign up for that job. Not all of them, but it ain't Andy Griffin, believe me. Anyways, with that being said, I am afraid, and I hope if these protests, riots, and demonstrations and whatever else are to be worth anything or do any good, I hope that this does lead to further regulation of the police and hopefully some reforms, much needed reforms made to the criminal justice system that has imprisoned a lot of people, especially in the black community, and that needs to be almost overhauled and totally looked at and changed, that has put millions of fucking people in prison. And again, we have the world's largest prison population. And while you could argue that's probably because China and countries like that probably just kill a lot of people, certainly Europe doesn't, and Japan doesn't, and a lot of other countries don't just kill you or some shit. And they have a much smaller prison population anywhere in the world you go. If you cross the border either way, by the way, whether it's Canada or even Mexico, they have a much smaller prison population than you have here. So we need to look at that and do some things to stop that, and overturning the private prison system that I have talked about before, that basically incentivizes these people to make more laws and give people stiffer sentences as an excuse to house more prisoners and build more prisons so that they make a profit, because it's for-profit prison industry. Basically, it's a for-profit prison industry is what it is basically, and it's an industry of putting people in prison, and they make money for putting you in prison, and they turn you into a stock basically. But the point is, and by the way, if you don't believe you're a stock, you need to look up your birth certificate and look up just look up Jordan Maxwell and birth certificate. That'll tell you all you need to know. You're a stock on the New York Stock Exchange, and you're basically like livestock, and that's why your name is in all capital letters. You're looked at as a product. You're good. You're a master. You're good. So it's very complicated, and it goes back to the old Roman law of the high seas, and it goes back to anything coming in from water is subject to international law or some shit like that. It's a good, and technically they're counting your mother's water. They're counting that as international water. It's very odd, but look that up. Jordan Maxwell birth certificate. But anyway, it's not the point. Back to what I was saying. Anyways, I hope it does some good and we do something to limit and regulate police brutality and the police abuse of citizens, black or white, or anything else in this country. And again, Kelly Thomas and other people, look up Kelly Thomas, the story of Kelly Thomas. That was a guy, homeless guy who was tased, and a very young guy who was tased 16 times by policemen, 5 to 6 of them, had no weapons, was not violent, died a few days shortly thereafter, and all of the policemen were let go, regardless, in spite of it being captured and videotaped on camera. They had video footage of these police officers killing this man, and they got away with it. And that was a white guy. That was a white man. But in this case, this is yet another black guy who died. Also, the case of Eric Garner, where they choked a man to death on camera, the kind of overweight dude, because he was selling cigarettes, not violent, and again, not violent, and again, unarmed or not armed, and they fucking choked him to death on camera. So hopefully they do something about that, and that at least is something being done about that. And I do support the protesters in this issue, in this scenario. But that's not going to probably what's going to happen because, as you can see, as always, a lot of it's being made out to be about race, and there is a racial element and aspect to this. Don't get me wrong, and I've said that before, but I don't think any one aspect of this should be over exaggerated because it goes beyond that. Just like, I mean, you could argue the prison population has a fuck of a lot more men in it, doesn't it, than women, but it's ultimately not about gender, it's not about race. It's about you have a for-profit prison system, and also you're not regulating your police, so you have these jobs and then you don't hold them to any standards. And they even pass laws in some states where if I think the cop has a certain intelligence level, they won't hire them because they want people who will follow orders. And what that leads to is a lot of very stupid, violent people becoming cops. But the point is, the South Carolina governor, who I believe is a Republican, go figure, he all of a sudden just so happens to out of nowhere comes out in support of removing a statue of Robert E. Lee. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not against removing this statue. I don't really care much either way, to be honest with you, one way or the other, but I'm not against it. And I say go ahead. I have no care for that statue, just like I have no care for the Confederate flag. And I have no emotional investment in it whatsoever. And in fact, if anything, it's probably against me for a lot of reasons, because if you haven't noticed, I'm kind of weird. But with all that being said, they want to do that. Now, why is that? I wonder why is that? Why is it the conservative Republican Southern governor in South Carolina, a white man, by the way, I believe, coming out all of a sudden in support of removing a Confederate statue or the statue of Robert E. Lee that has been there for hundreds of years and no one gave a shit about until recently? All because of what? Because they had protest. They had a focus and a issue in mind, and were focused on that issue and was starting to get attention and possibly even making change. And all of a sudden now you're going to distract away from that issue by talking about this issue, the statue. Because the statue hurts you more than the actual living, breathing police officers, such as the ones who killed this man. Again, the statue didn't kill the man. A Confederate flag didn't kill the man, that I'm going to talk more about in a second. But what actually killed the man was police officers. So this wouldn't be a distraction issue, would it? So you stop talking about cops? Nah. Let's make it about race. Let's try to divide it up. Let's make it all about the riots and show the worst possible footage. Let's talk about the people with the shops that got broken up or whatever. Let's talk about white people. Let's talk about statues. Let's talk about flags. Let's make it about every damn thing and any damn thing, Trump and anything else, but the fucking police abuse and brutality. And of course, Trump showing his true colors in himself to be an asshole that I kind of always knew he was, and I have talked about him being. And he might even surpass Bush before it's over as the worst president. Who's to say? But right now, sorry, kiddo, you're still number one. But anyways, Bushy. But anyways, the point is, again, I hope this doesn't break down to become about every secondary trivial fucking issue possible, but the actual issue of police brutality that these riots started over, or these protests or whatever started over, and that we should be talking about. But that now leads me to another issue. Stone Cold Steve Austin. Again, huge fan of him growing up, like the rest of WWE. However, it has changed quite significantly. And not really changed, but, saying whatever they think will make $1, even though they promoted certain shit for many, many fucking decades. And now they want to trash all the fucking people who likes the things that they spent years making money supporting. First Brian Penny's matches, now this, and so it goes. And keep in mind, the entire thing is violence, by the way, or two guys, or men or women, going out to the ring and kicking the ever-living shit out of each other so a rich old man can make money. That's ultimately what it is, let's be honest. But anyways, he basically, Stone Cold, basically, in my opinion, hypocritically, shit, and I'll tell you why it's hypocritical in a minute, shit on a fan, again, a paying customer, one of his fans and his supporters, because they defended the Confederate flag and said it wasn't racist, it simply represents where you're from, and I disagree with that, and I think he's an idiot too, but then again, you know what, he's not my fan. But anyways, and ISO kindly pointed out, this is the same guy who spent years not only wearing Confederate flags on TV, but Confederate flag shirts that he helped create, because he helped design his merch and his merchandise, and he helped sell that fucking merch to millions of fucking Americans that had Confederate flags on it, and he had imprinted in his pickup truck a fucking Confederate flag, and drove an ATV with a Confederate flag banner hanging from it. But he, this South Texas, whatever the fuck he is, redneck, he now wants to look down on and lecture the larger rest of the population and the poor people in the country, of course, that he no longer is a part of, that helped make him who he is, and his fucking fans, because they like the same damn thing. That 2 fucking years ago, he probably, two or 3 years ago, he probably would have been defending his damn self. After wearing the shit on TV and selling the shit for 2+ decades. And you don't think that's hypocritical? And that's what pisses me off here. And it's not just that, it's the fucking arrogance. It's the arrogance of these fucking people. And when I say these people, I mean celebrities, basically the rich and the famous, the upper classes, celebrities, politicians, the upper classes, and how they look down on people. And you saw this all throughout the last 4 fucking years with Trump in there. And it's all because of the fucking poor people and all the white trash and trailer trash, and they voted for Trump and all this dumb shit they talk about. And I remember, again, 4 fucking years ago, Trump, who was rich, by the way, made a fucking pussy joke on a goddamn bus in private with only himself and one other dude. 11 years ago then, now it's been like 13 to 14 years ago. Okay, and because of that got out, they made this huge deal out of it, even though no one else did give a fuck, because no one does. This is the same Oval Office that he now occupies, that was also occupied by Bill Clinton, who stuck a cigar in a woman's vagina, and another fucking dude, John F. Kennedy too, by the way, who was screwing chicks in there, including Marilyn Monroe, and they have been doing this since the fucking founders. So no one gave a shit, about his joke, about his stupid little joke. Okay, and ultimately not even a joke. It was just him being an asshole, but it was in private on a bus, and he wasn't. I don't think anyone thought he was serious, and maybe he was. I don't know, but he didn't sound that way to anyone. But you then have Michelle Obama and other people lecture the fucking poor people in this fucking country and trying to tell them who they should vote for, including the wife of a person that has been accused of rape himself, Hillary Clinton, because Bill Clinton, you have to keep in mind, has been accused of that. I'm not saying he did it, but he's been accused, and he certainly isn't a saint. Because this guy made a joke, and you lecture them and you look down on them and you talk about them as if they're white trash. And it's the arrogance. It's the arrogance that I'm right and I know better than you and you don't know. That I make more money and I have more success and more fame and more privilege. So therefore, I'm a higher class of being. This is how they look at that. This is how they look at you. And this is Stone Cold, who is now one of them, basically looking at his fucking supporters who funded and supported his ass and helped get him where he is and make him who he is. And this is him now shitting on them and telling them, you're poor white trash, and thanks for buying my shirts. That's what he said. And it pisses me the fuck off, because I don't talk to people that way. I feel like fucking talking to them a lot of ways, but I try not to. And I try to fucking understand we're all human beings and no one's fucking great, okay? And let's say he really doesn't support the Confederate flag anymore. Hell, I wouldn't doubt if he's not flying one now. But let's just say he doesn't. Well, goddamn it, he should know more than anyone how this guy, who is a fan of his, by the way, like he didn't know his fans felt this way, supports or is defending the same damn thing he himself wore t-shirts for 2+ decades having on it. And ultimately, that's another thing wrong with wrestling. It's insincere and it's not anything. It's bullshit and it's fake. And it's not fake because it's predetermined. It's fake because the people in it are fake. And there are stories. There's a guy that talks about wrestling. He used to write for it. And he talked about he knew a fucking person who brought these two girls to see Paige, the female wrestler, not the guy, the girl. And she basically started pretending to talk on her phone and wouldn't even talk to two girls. I think they were like 5, 6 years old. One was like 7. Two little girls would not talk to them or some shit. And then when she got past them, put her away because of that. And they said, hey, Michael Cole. And Michael Cole got in his car, wouldn't even turn around and say hi to them. And there's other issues of these idiots shitting on their fans because that's how they look at you. That's arrogance. And at least in Stone Cold's case, he is at least correct. He is rich and famous. And he's probably one of the biggest wrestlers in wrestling history, next to maybe Rock, next to Rock and maybe Hogan. But he's up there with the biggest wrestlers there is. So at least in his case, he's right. These other fucking jabronis aren't even shit, really. And it's a part of this current wrestling no one even watches. And that hypocrisy is another fucking line or a thread that I've talked about that goes through wrestling now. And another reason why I and 5 to 6 million other people stopped watching. Because just like with the Brian Penny's match, they spent 2+ decades parading women around in their Brian Pennies and doing all this stuff and having them pose in Playboy and basically having them do everything but appear in hardcore porn movies or hardcore fuck movies. And if you count Playboy, pretty much did. And then they turn around and they want to promote feminism and bash their mostly male audience over the head with it and have some chick slap some guy in the damn face every damn fucking week for 5 years. But yet they're the damn ones promoting the damn Brian Penny's matches and shit to begin with anyways. And then they shit in their fucking audience. And I remember TNA even shaming their damn audience for this damn shit. And you even have Vince McMahon once saying the N-word and everything else on national TV. And they get fucking away with it scot-free. And they're going to blame us for watching the shit they produce. And it's bullshit. So anyways, there was my little fucking 2 cents about that. Please don't circumcise your kids. Please don't. Make that clear. And pay 666.